Conventionally, what we call as meditation is actually a practice where we just close our eyes and watch the flow of thoughts or whatever arises. Now, that practice in itself is beneficial because it gives a temporary relief to the mind, because it is the nature of mind to move, and sometimes movement can produce restlessness. And since the senses are changing, the mind is also correspondingly changing. Therefore, that practice helps to calm the mind temporarily, and it is beneficial because it makes the mind more receptive, more open to what is being conveyed. But there is another aspect to meditation which is not done, but which simply happens. And in that, the flow of life itself becomes meditative. What that means is that we become the observer of life as it flows. And in that observation, we see different movements, and we see how our mind is creating labels for those movements, classifying them as good thought, bad thought, neutral thought. Sometimes we build stories in our mind, and even that is seen in that observation. But till there is this dualistic split of the observer and the observed, the meditation is not happening. The meditation happens when the observer is dropped and only the observation remains. Till there is a meditator meditating on something, meditation is not happening. Now, in the practice, the meditator can drop, but it is a temporary effect. Whereas in life, when the observer drops, that is called awakening or understanding. That means everything is seen as a movement, but there is no separate observer of any movement. In fact, this notion of me, that I am the one who sees, that itself gets dropped in meditation, because this conceptual thought me is also seen as an object, just like many others. So there is simply observation. And in Vedanta, they say the seer is the seen. Things that are seen through this separate observer or me, are filtered because me itself is a limited entity. Therefore, whatever it sees is limited. And usually, what happens is that when we are identified with the separate self, when we say that I am so and so, then all our vision is filtered, distorted, and limited because we see everything through the lens of this limited entity, me. And its vision is small, its vision is limited, so it can truly never know what is happening in totality. So, on the surface, things may seem turbulent in the world. It may seem that there is a lot of pain, there's a lot of misery, there's a lot of unhappiness in the world. It may seem that we have a mind which is constantly restless, and there are endless solutions that we are trying to come up with to quiet the mind, but nothing is working. We do so many practices, we do years of sadhana, but what the masters have said is that all doing to achieve a goal is itself the cause of suffering, is itself the cause of thinking. There's a verse in Gurbani which says, Sochi soch na hove, jo soche lakbar. That means the deep implication of that verse means is that you cannot use the mind to quiet the mind. But yes, when the mind is known, then that itself changes everything. Because then it doesn't matter whether the mind is quiet or not. And that is meditation. It does not mean that the separate self dies. The sense of personal identification cannot die. It is required for interpersonal human interactions. But now, having glimpsed reality, this separate entity is no more that solid as it used to be. Having tasted the awareness of being, this entity, there is a permanent change. The human experience remains as before. We still feel hurt by certain things. The mind still produces restlessness sometimes, but nothing sticks for very long because the ocean has been seen for what it is, and one does not identify with the waves of thoughts. So, no matter how intense the emotion, sensation, or feeling is, ultimately it is clear that it is going to merge back into the ocean of peace and calm. Therefore, we are not using the mind to quiet the mind. We are simply watching this whole movement. And at some point, this watching, this personal watching from the limited lens of the mind, converts into watchfulness or witnessing, or what has been called as the Sakshi in the scriptures. However, the presence of the seer prevents that from happening because seer is a conditioned entity, and the conditioned entity cannot know wholeness. However, the irony is that it is made up of the same substance. Consciousness and the content of consciousness are one and the same. So, anybody would like to ask anything or share anything, please feel free to. You can raise your hand and I will unmute you and you can ask or share anything. And by the way, one more thing I forgot to tell you. In this meditation that happens, everything is allowed. You are even allowed to sleep if you want to. Everything is allowed. You are allowed to snore too. We were once attending a meditation and there were, I think, 50, 60 students. And I was one of the students attending meditation. And the hall was quiet and the Swami was conducting the meditation. Now, what happened? We started hearing a snoring sound, very loud snoring sound. Karr, karr, karr. And, you know, the Swami ji got up and immediately he said, like, what is happening? It was quite loud. And there was a very old gentleman sitting just behind, resting the wall, making this loud snoring noise. And he was snoring so hard, he was sleeping so hard that it was difficult to wake him up because even people were trying to shake him physically and he was not waking up. So, they ultimately, Swamiji decided, let's do one thing. Let's meditate on his snoring because it's not going to stop. So there are no rules to this 20-minute meditation. There are no rules. You don't have to keep your eyes open or closed. It's totally up to you. You don't have to sit necessarily. You can stand, although standing would be cumbersome, but you can stand, you can lie down, you can fall asleep too. It'll be good if you fall asleep, at least in meditation and Advaita lectures. If one gets to sleep, that's a good thing too. The whole point is that it's very little in our control. Things are usually not in our control. So even when meditation happens or when the meditator drops is also not in our control. I was reading a book by Thich Nhat Hanh, the late Vietnamese master, and I think he was conducting a meditation once, and uh, it was a silent area, but all of a sudden there were these army helicopters which were floating on top, and they were making so much noise, and there was so many planes, so many helicopters in that region, and they were making so much noise. So Thich Nhat Hanh decided that let's meditate on this noise. He says we just make do with whatever is there, you know. Sometimes we can just walk, sometimes we can just pay attention to the breath. There are no rules in meditation, in my personal experience. Although it is not to say that other forms of meditations are not good. There are many beautiful meditation systems like Vipassana and many other. But open awareness has totally a different quality to it. When one is open to this awareness of whatever comes, So anybody would like to ask something or share something? Sometimes sharing is very powerful too. So you can raise your hand or you can press the hand button and I will unmute you.
How do I raise my hand?
Hi, hello. Yeah, hi.
Hi,
Hello.
hi, how do you say your name?
I'm Jagjot. And you are? How do I say your name?
It's Lynn is my name.
Lynn. Okay,
And
hi, Lynn.
yeah, hi, Chanjo and everybody. I'm so happy to be here. Um, is this going to be on YouTube?
Yes, yes, this will be on YouTube.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't really want to be on YouTube, but anyway, I won't say everything because I don't want everything on YouTube. But I just wanted to say I'm so happy to be here. Um, I just discovered you like just recently,
Hmm.
and so I'm so happy. And thanks for moving it forward because before it was like at 5 o'clock in California,
Hmm.
and so now, yeah, you moved it forward. I'm so happy. But okay, I'll just say one thing is I'm really struggling to like I can't meditate or anything. And like I can't stop my mind and it's just so I can't do anything. Like I just don't know. It just goes on and on and on the whole time.
Yeah, sometimes that can be hard. That can be quite hard, in fact. And the idea is not to fight with that, but to let it flow in a certain way if it wants to flow. So, meditation can be done in a lot of other ways. It's not necessary that one has to sit in a in a particular posture or one has to focus on a particular object. Sometimes just, being in the open, let's say outdoors with plants and nature can have a meditative quality to it. And from what I have experienced is that the flow of life itself has a meditative quality to it, where one assesses how this flow of life creates different sensations within us. And it is not that we have to change the flow of life, but our happiness depends on our attitude towards the flow of life. That has been the teaching. So if the mind is restless, if the mind is restless, just, you know, go with your instinct. Like if anything makes you feel better, sometimes it can be something as simple as just relaxing. Like probably you're having a warm tea or water right now. That's an act of relaxation. That's an act of self-care. It's an act of self-preservation. Simple things, nothing complicated. Maybe just, you know, look out the window or anything for that matter. It's like as we pay more and more awareness, more and more attention to everything that is happening around us, we start to realize our relationship with each and everything in our life. And that itself has a meditative quality because it begins sorting on its own. There's nothing to be done as such. So for me, just simple relaxation. In my personal life, relaxation has been a great, great thing because I have done nothing. I have not done too much conventional meditation. All I have done is relaxation whenever I could, wherever I could. And relaxation, what does that mean? Let me clarify that too. What does relaxation mean? Relaxation simply means being with myself, just the way I am. It doesn't mean me being with a phone or a book or television. It just means just me being with myself completely. And yes, I do start to see my mind running in action like an engine. It does that. But over time, I see a certain pattern to it, right? I see a certain pattern. I see that it is the same thoughts that are coming over and over again. It's like same type of thinking is springing from this pool of consciousness and playing the same patterns, repeating the same patterns over and over again. And in that seeing, that itself frees one from the charge, from the emotional charge that one experiences. And once the emotional charge is gone, thinking itself subsides. Or even if it doesn't subside, it's no more a problem. It's only the charge that keeps us, that brings suffering, basically.
Yeah, but I don't know how to not be frustrated.
Just examine, why is the frustration happening? Frustration could be happening because of lot of many reasons. And one could be, what is the relationship with the immediate surroundings, with people, with objects, with things, with our own thoughts? Frustration could be
Yeah.
happening because of repetition of certain kinds of thoughts, that thoughts that may be running into an imaginary future. And all the masters are saying, they're not giving any technique, but they're simply saying, just bring yourself here and now. Just bring it here, because in this there is everything.
Yeah, when you're talking and it feels like much more calm everywhere when you talk.
Mhm.
Thank you so much, Jagjot.
You're welcome, Lynn. You're welcome. So anybody else would like to ask anything or share anything, please feel free to. Yes, Mandeep.
Good
Yes,
evening.
Mandeep. Hanji,
Okay. Thank you for lovely meditation.
you're welcome.
I have few questions regarding meditation.
Mm-hmm.
is the purpose of meditation, one is to calm your mind so that you can observe your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, other objective could be to know who you are. When you know that you are not body or your mind. What it what does it really mean to have a meditative quality?
Yes, interesting. So
Okay.
let's come to your first question, which was, can you repeat the first question?
Uh, the first question was the object of meditation. What is the purpose of meditation?
Okay,
Not the object, sorry. What's the purpose of meditation?
purpose of meditation. So now I will just speak from my own experience, and there is actually no purpose of meditation at all. The meditation is never done with a purpose in mind, because purpose or outcome attached to it keeps the meditator alive. It keeps the subject object split intact,
Mhm.
and that separation has been said to be suffering. So, that is the first
Mhm.
thing. It is not that meditation has a purpose. In fact, we don't even do meditation because meditation happens automatically, it just happens spontaneously. What happens is that now this may happen not just when we are formally sitting in meditation. This can happen in any at any time. It can happen, let's say, when you are visiting some beautiful site in the nature and all of a sudden you lose yourself and you are completely absorbed in the nature. You become one with the nature. That has a meditative quality to it. That means there is no me or the separate self which is trying to observe anything, and nothing is being imposed on what is being seen. No quality. Let's say there are mountains, a beautiful landscape, a beautiful tree, let's say, for example. The tree is simply seen for the marvelous natural beauty it has. Like, it is not being assigned any attributes. It is this kind of tree, that kind of tree. So the beauty of the tree is not derived from the attributes that are assigned to the tree, that its name, its type. None of that information is there in the mind. There is complete blank. There is no information. The tree is simply seen as beauty, which is which reminds one of their own essence. So there is no separation between the observer and the observed. So the breakdown of this subject-object split is actually meditation. And what was your third question?
Yeah, this was related to like Jiddu Krishnamurti saying, observer is the
Is the
observed.
observed, yes. Yes, yes. Because, as I said in the beginning, the separate self, me or the observer, is basically a limited entity. So, whatever is being viewed through the lens of this me, right, it is always limited. Let me take an example. Let me say, let's say, when we are going to watch a movie, right, if 10 people come and tell us that the movie is not good because it has this thing. Now, what happens is that when you go into the picture hall and start seeing the movie, your already mind is already conditioned. So while watching the movie, you start remembering, oh, my friends told this movie has this scene, then scene number two, then scene number three. So therefore, it is not a good movie. So your whole viewing experience gets distorted, which in any case
Mhm.
gets distorted because there is a lot of promotion of the movies happening these days. So they make it larger than life, and then you go into the picture hall, and it is entirely different thing. I mean, it is a
Mhm.
common experience, and so is with life. The in the In the movie of life, when we are seeing things from the separate self, from this limited entity me, there is always a limited experience. So we are concluding things based on this conditioned entity. We are saying that things should be like this and things should not be like that. So that is creating an observer which is which is observing something. So observer always has an objective in mind, always have an outcome in mind. But when the observer collapses, it is pure observation. In pure observation, there is no objective, there is no, um, there is absolutely no condition. It is simply observed. So one can say that even one's own preferences are observed in that. So the dropping away of this observer is meditation.
Now, this is interesting because when you say the dropping of the observer,
Mhm.
are we talking of the ego as an observer?
The observer, the separate self, is the ego. Yeah.
Yeah. So we are not talking about what we are, awareness, consciousness, when we are talking of this.
Well, actually, the thing is that even the ego is made up of awareness. It is not that it, because the quality of ego is also awareness. So the consciousness and its content is actually one and the same. It is only because the ego is questioning, it is trying to make sense of how these two are one, that this split comes about. Yes, our true nature, in one way, if you see in the broad range, the masters would say that consciousness is our true nature. That means pure witnessing, where ego is an object, is one object just among many others.
Mhm,
So, yes, we are not limited to the ego. Ego is just an
mhm,
appearance. It comes and it goes.
mhm,
And it is, as Nisargadatta Maharaj says, that person is not your continuous experience. You think about only you know yourself only when you think about yourself. Only then the separate self comes up. But in your daily routine life, whatever you're doing,
mhm,
work, most of the time it's just happening. It's all of it is happening. So that observation is ever present. That awareness is ever present. It is only the ego comes up in between every now and then. It's like, oh, I haven't done this. I should have done that. It imposes conditions. So yes, ego in that context is not real. But at the same time, it is also made up of awareness. And it is a thought. It is a conceptual thought, just like any other thought. But it strikes at the root.
mhm. But who we really are, the awareness, the consciousness, whatever would you would like to name it, cannot fall away.
Yes, yes, because that is ever present. Because we cannot talk about our. Now, Nisargadatta Maharaj would put it this way. He would say that you cannot talk about discontinuity as an experience. That means even if you say that I was asleep and there was blank, there was no experience. Even the no experience is an experience.
Mhm,
Even the void, let's say if somebody falls unconsciousness, there is absolutely no experience. But eventually you wake up. When you wake up, the me or the ego just rises up and it says, oh, I did not experience anything. But that's actually not true because there was an experience of discontinuity before fainting and after fainting. If truly there was no experience, the fainting period would have never been known.
mhm,
So your true nature is the substratum, which is the consciousness, which
mhm,
exists in all the three states, sleeping, waking, and deep sleep.
mhm,
It is just that in waking and dreaming, it is movement and conditioned. Whereas in deep sleep, it is pure witnessing. It is witnessing the absence of sense objects, which
Mhm.
means the absence of mind. But there is not complete absence. There is something over there which is made up of awareness itself. And Ramesh Balsekar would say that what we are seeking deep down is the peace that we experience in deep sleep in the waking state.
Mhm. Okay. Now, another thing is, I do observe my mind quite a lot,
Mhm,
and I feel that my mind is quite often in a rumination mode.
mhm,
Okay, but sometimes there's an emotional charge to it.
yes,
Sometimes there's less emotional. It The intensity varies.
mhm,
Okay, okay, because of the observation, perhaps the intensity varies from one time to another. And many times you wish even that were not there. Okay, and I included it as a part of observation.
yeah,
Okay,
yes, yes, exactly,
not wanting to see it also being observed.
exactly, exactly, yes, exactly. Not wanting a, a preferred outcome is also a part of observation, and that also has to be accepted. Yes, I have certain thoughts. I am putting resistance to those thoughts and emotions, and that is also allowed. That is also a part of this observation. It does not mean that one will say that I'm okay with everything. So it's not
Mhm.
about that. It's
Mhm.
about the total observation. The total observation means everything is accepted. And what
Mhm.
happens is that over time, these patterns begin to change. Now, it is not that we have to do something to change these patterns, because if we
Mhm.
try to change something, that won't remain permanent. That will basically, sometimes it may work according to our preferences, other times it will not work according to our preference, and then there will be pain. But when it is allowed, when I'm not putting resistance to any content of the consciousness, what happens is that my relationship with thoughts begin changing. It begins to change. I see a pattern repeating. Now, this is the same thing which I was talking to Lynn earlier. And I was telling her that there is a pattern going on in the mind. Okay, it is the same type of, now the content varies, but the situation, the base of the situation is almost the same. These
Mhm.
type of certain type of inputs trigger us. Okay, they trigger us, and we know that, I'm sensitive about these things within me, and when somebody says this or that, I produce a reaction, and then there is an immediate need to actually counter that reaction. Why? Because we have heard from people that reaction is a bad thing. Now we don't
Mhm.
think for a moment that maybe my body, my organism is actually tuned there. I'm not saying that, we should just react on every situation and put it on others.
Mhm.
But to have a reaction is, it's like, if you see that is perfectly okay. It happens in the moment, you know. But when this observation takes place more and more, what you will notice is that it does not stick. It begins to subside very, very soon,
Mhm.
because you are, the separate self or me is not activated in that moment. It is not a continuous entity. It is, sometimes it comes up and it creates a emotional charge associated with the thought. Then it just goes away. And the same situation, somebody saying something, mind producing
Mhm.
a thought, but the charge is not produced next time. Now, what changed all of a sudden? The change happened is that it was witnessed over and over that a certain situation creates a certain type of reaction within me. And now
Mhm.
that witnessing is happening and there is no resistance to that thought, actually, there is no charge because there is no opposition.
Thank you. Related to this is one is um, in Buddhism, one says no self, no problem.
Yeah.
Okay, can you please elaborate on it? One.
Okay,
Okay,
honestly
and
speaking, I don't know much
yeah.
about Buddhism. So,
Okay.
but all I can say is, all I can say is, problem for whom, you know, and even no self for whom. Here is the understanding.
Mhm,
No self cannot be a concept,
mhm,
you know. I'm sorry. No, no self is a concept. Okay.
mhm,
I'll repeat, no self is a concept. Now,
mhm,
again, all the concepts actually come from the intellect, which is a part of the ego system.
mhm,
So, you know, to conclude, now I will try to give Jiddu Krishnamurti's concept, which is that, sir, he would say, sir, do not conclude, you know,
mhm,
no self, just
mhm,
with an intellectual understanding will breed problems because then there is, because it is intellect, it is divided, it is into two. So when I create a no self, there is automatically a self which is saying that there is a no self, right? And these two forces are
mhm,
pulling in opposite directions.
mhm,
So intellectual concept does not help, but the understanding of no self. Now I don't know anything about Buddhism, but the
mhm,
understanding of no self for me is that there are too many forces which are producing actions and reactions, right?
mhm,
But there is no central agency in charge of anything. When that is understood, even
mhm,
when reactions happen or difficulties happen, there is usually not a problem associated with it, not a peace, there, because there is a peace, a deep down peace, peaceful understanding that there is no self in charge of anything. But it is not a concept, it is an understanding of the heart. And it does not come as in, you know, it's not like I'm going to deny and say that I do not have an emotional charge. I still may have an emotional charge, even with the understanding that there is no self. But at the same time, I completely accept that charge. I own that charge. And I do not judge myself or condemn myself for that charge. And I say it is there. If it is there, it is there. And that acceptance itself drops the charge. So I don't even need to use any concept. I simply just accepted the flow of thought, thinking, and charge that is produced by thinking, and everything drops by itself without me actually trying to drop anything.
interesting. Jojo, you use the term understanding by the heart.
Yes,
Understanding by the heart. So, what does it mean, heart? Spiritual heart. What does it mean? And uh, also, the term used in spirituality a lot, beloved.
yes, yes. Well,
Yeah.
the heart, I think the heart is the beloved because heart, Ramana Maharishi would say, heart is the self, is the eternal self. And now, heart does not, now this is a concept, just a concept, okay? Heart does
Mhm.
not operate on thought. It does not, it is spontaneous. It is like, it is not in the domain of time. Sometimes there is just a deep knowing within which just brings a lot of peace and calm. Let's say you may have noticed that sometimes we have a conflict with certain kind of thoughts. And all of a sudden, you will observe that after many, many years, the conflict just ends. And there is no explanation like why the conflict ended. It could be thought, it could be a person, it could be a situation, could be a relationship, anything. You say that I had such a difficult relationship with this person for so many years, and all of a sudden it dropped. And now your mind is trying to figure out, like, what happened? What just happened? Well, nothing happened actually.
Mhm.
It's just that heart
Mhm.
heart was awakened. And when heart was awakened, it just dropped that. Some people just drop addictions sometimes for no reason, for apparent no reason. Whereas they are addicted for years and sometimes trying their level best to get off the addiction. They're trying therapies, they're trying different modalities, but nothing is working at all. But all of a sudden, sometimes it just drops. I think Ramesh Balsekar's disciple, Liquor Wayne Man, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correct, but uh, Wayne Man, I'll just call him Wayne Man. I don't remember his first name. For him, it was like years and years of drinking alcohol. Like he was completely addicted to that. And at one point, all of a sudden, it just dropped. Now, he could not come up with a rational explanation as to what happened. Why did it drop? And that, I believe, is an understanding of the heart that drops it. It is not that the ego can think its way into the heart, because the ego is itself illuminated by the heart. So heart is the self, it's the pure consciousness that Ramana Maharishi talks about. So it is spontaneous. It does not happen in the domain of thinking. It cannot be arrived at on the basis of thinking. It happens through pure observation, and it happens when it is the will of God. Yes, sometimes thinking can precede it. That may happen. A sadhana, a particular type of meditation can precede it, but it is not necessary that that happens in every case. It can be different for different people.
So let me see if I have understood well. So you want to say that spiritual heart
Yes.
is consciousness itself.
Yes.
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 And beloved is the same thing, same
Yes.
idea.
Yes. Yes. The concept, yes. Different names, the same concept. Beloved is the same thing, because there is no separation between you and the beloved. The beloved is, it's like, going the whole circle when it is just in front of you. And and I don't know if it was Rumi or someone like who said that what you're seeking is already here. It is already here and now. So there is nothing to be done for the heart to awaken or for the beloved to be seen. It is just here and now. It's like in this very moment, there is something illuminating all of this. And that is common for all of us, which is our being, our beingness. And that is what it is, because it is unconditional love. It is always there. It doesn't leave you. And that is why all the masters just give one pointer. They say, bring yourself here and now. They will not even tell you how to do that, because there is no way to do that. It's like they'll just give the command. They'll just say, here and now, come here and now, be here and now. Or they will just say, be, that's it. And they say that your being itself is of immense value. It is of the highest value, because that is your true nature. But we get identified with concepts and we try to be this or that. So Maharishi would say, your job is not to be this or that, your job is to be. And in that being, you will know.
Thank you, Jagjot, for your explanation.
Okay, Manju. Okay, we can take one last question or sharing if anybody would like to. Yes, Sarthak.
Namaste, Jagjot
Namaste.
bhai.
Namaste,
How was your
Sarthak.
week?
I'm good, yaar. How are you?
It's going good. It's going good. Yeah, I wanted to share something funny, just to lighten up the mood. We had a lot of intellectual discussions today.
Good one. Yeah, tell me.
Right? So I'll tell you about this. So my whole week, or in fact, like I would say my whole month was kind of engaged with this in playing out this Renanu Bandhan with
Uh,
this little mouse in my house. And I was playing Tom and Jerry with this mouse, okay? So my mom was really sick of like the mouse, like kind of, it was a very small, cute mouse. I started getting affectionate towards it. So just like roaming around the house and it was like jumping over the shelves. Now it was like kind of testing boundaries, like what else can I do? What else can I get away with?
yeah.
It's not like chewing away food, chewing away like fabric, or it's not like trying to kind of pillage food. It's not doing any of that. It's just like
Mhm.
messing about, just having fun. So my mom was, please do something about it. Please do something. And I was like, I can't, I'm not a doer.
But remember, consequences are
I
going
know,
to
I know, I know.
happen.
I know. Of course, which is also kind of doership, right? I'm not the doer, I'm not the doer. It'll
Yes.
happen. I was kind of trying to I was be like, I had a feeling, okay, that this whole mouse situation will sort itself out. I had no idea how, but I knew it would happen somehow,
Yeah.
either through me or somebody else. So now what happened, like yesterday, after playing Tom and Jerry with this mouse, literally like, one day I'll tell you, like the last weekend I was sitting here with you, we were like in deep meditation, right? I had totally gone into the unknown, or like the unknown had been taken me away. And I have this sensation in my feet. I was like, "Oh, maybe this is some, like some spiritual vibration happening." And the mouse was gnawing at my feet while you guys were meditating. It literally was like, I was like, I don't know, I'm getting something out of this apparently.
Okay.
Anyhow, that's how, like, the mouse was very mischievous.
By the way, guys, if you
Yeah.
are meditating and there is a mouse at your feet, you're allowed to move.
I had my Ganesh moment right then and there. Anyway, so now what happened was the mouse was in a spot and we tried everything. Okay. We had like used the traditional one, traditional mouse trap. I tried to like use the broom and try to drive it away. I did everything. And I don't like this last resort technique that some people use is the glue book, right?
What is that?
So the glue book is it's like basically a book, right?
Oh, acha,
It's
acha.
like has glue on it and it kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's a bit painful and a bit inhumane. But I
Uh,
was like, I'm gonna use this to just kind of like subdue it for some time and then figure something else out. Coincidentally, my aunt had come like a few days earlier and I'd stepped on the trap by accident.
oh,
It's like, oh, I was like, oh my God, like my foot was stuck in it. It was so like, powerful, so like sticky. And she was like, why don't you pour some hot water on it, And I poured some hot. So like, okay, that's how you get around this. You pour some hot water and then like the effect subsides. Now the mouse was in the bind. It was like I'd kind of cornered it. Then I placed the book right before the door and the mice came, okay, skittering away. And now the mouse got trapped, and my mom was like, got so like amped. I haven't seen her this excited, like on my graduation day. How much the amount of excitement she had for the mouse getting finally trapped. Now the mouse was trapped. And then I was like, can you heat some water up? So she heated some water, lukewarm, not too warm. I
mhm.
took it outside. I took it outside. I placed it at some spot. Now I want to tell you something that's really cool that happened. I was kind of pouring the lukewarm water, right? And then, the stickiness was kind of going away and I was like trying to get out, trying to get out. It had almost like I was like literally cheering for the mouse. I was like, yeah, go, Jerry, go. Now the Jerry is at the corner, and at the last moment, its tail got like stuck and it kind of, went back and got more stuck. And
Ah,
I was like, man, this is some wise lesson happening right here.
mm,
Huh? You
mhm.
do too much and you get mired in the Maya,
Exactly,
and
exactly.
then it actually saw me, like I could see it. I was probably projecting, but I could sense it had like completely at one point surrendered. The
Yeah,
mouse was like, dude, if I move, the more I move, the more I'm going to get entrapped in this
exactly.
foundation of glue. So it literally just froze and it was like, up to Allah bharose hai, right? So then I poured some more. At the very last moment, its tail snapped and it ran off. And I don't know, I just like was very moved by this whole
This
incident. I thought I'd share it.
See, this is such a potent pointer, yeah. This is such a potent pointer. It's like the more you engage the mind to solve the problems of the mind, the more entangled it becomes, right? And at some point, some awareness comes, not from the mind, but some awareness comes externally, and there is an opportunity to slip. Now, if it is your destiny, the meditator will drop in that moment and witnessing will begin. And the problem is over. In the sense that problem is no more a problem. The situation may be the same. The thinking may be the same. The life problems may be the same. But the charge associated, the concept associated with it will drop away. Now, let me share a story of mine also. Now, I am right now in a construction zone. So, a lot of construction is happening uh, on the outside of this block. And, there are a lot of, it's actually a wild area here. Uh, it's not a proper city. Like it's on the outskirts of Mohali. So, one day I came home and I see a snake in the, just lying around snake. And my mom gets really worried and she's like, there's a snake. We must do something. We must do something. And I tell her, I said, no, mom, don't worry. God sent the snake. God will take care of it. And then we go inside and we say, just lock the doors and sleep. Okay. Now we did lock the doors and ensure that there is no, this thing. But we did not touch the snake. We said, it has come. It will go on its own.
Oh.
Now, next day when we went out, the snake was gone and there was a nevla. What do you call nevla in English? Mongoose?
Mongoose.
Mongoose, na? Huh.
Yeah,
So
mongoose.
there was a mongoose over there, and it has burrowed like holes after holes in the lawn.
Oh.
And you know, so when we saw the mongoose, now my mother was like, "Now how do I get rid of the mongoose?" I was like, you know, now this is a new problem now. How to get rid of the mongoose because it's become quite comfortable now. It is still there outside,
Yeah.
you know. And so the contractor who was sitting there, he said, God sent the snake, God sent the mongoose. When
Mm.
it's time, the mongoose will also go.
True.
So, sometimes we just do not need to do anything. That's the whole message here, that nothing needs to be done. Just the flow of life, watching it as it happens, will bring the necessary change. Whatever is destined for you will be done. And I think Ramesh just concluded that by saying, thy will be done.
I will be done indeed.
Because now, just to conclude, I would say, whatever our life graph has been since the very beginning, I'm grateful to life that things did not work according to my plan. I'm really, really grateful to God that they did not work according to my plan, because had that been, it would have been completely different and I would not have experienced what I experience right now. So when things do not work in my favor, sometimes I take it as a blessing. And while it may seem intense in a given moment, and we may feel that we are suffering, that, nobody's there, but that's not true. What needs to be done will be done for us. So, in that way, there is never any separation, if we look closely. And there will always be awareness, the source, providing warm water to escape from the glue.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarthak. Thank you for sharing. And thanks to all of you for being here and sharing your beautiful, wonderful presence. And we'll meet again tomorrow, same time. Take care, all of you. So we'll end this session now. Thank you all for being.